Hello, welcome to the Fanfic Majesty. 11 BSFLBAG. Chapter 201 Going to the Present World Again. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Aizen. It should be you, right? Although judging from his usual behavior in the world, Aizen can be regarded as a typical good old man. He is sincere and honest, and treats others kindly. On the surface, Aizen is almost flawless. He's a low-key guy, not known for his strength in the Soul Society, nor for his Zanpakuto special abilities. He seems pretty mediocre, but just right for the captaincy. This has led to Aizen leaving a false impression in everyone's mind all these years he is not strong. Whether it was the Hollow Knight incident that year, or the Manos Grande raid incident in several years, Aizen was always able to get rid of the suspicion in the first place. After all, who wouldn't doubt a good old man with mediocre strength and kindness? Perhaps after getting along for so many years, other people have long been accustomed to it, and subtly maintained this impression of Aizen. But Luyun has only been in Gote 13 for a few short years, and his contact with Aizen is not deep. In Luyun's view, Aizen's seemingly perfect performance is actually the biggest flaw. Because there is no perfect person in this world, even God is no exception. The more Aizen hides, Luyun thinks he is hypocritical. Although Luyun couldn't find any evidence, his intuition told him that Aizen was not as simple as it seemed on the surface. Advertisement. Luyun Dakido, you are finally here, everyone is waiting for you. Aizen took the initiative to speak, with black eyes and a warm and gentle smile. I'm sorry, I can't get rid of the bad habit of being late for so many years. Luyun responded with a smile. Everything was business as usual, the two still greeted each other as usual, and did not show any abnormality because of the Karakura town incident. The two walked into the team room one after the other. At this moment, figures surged in the huge house. When Luyun stepped into the room, all eyes were on him. Before that, they had roughly learned the details of that night from Shiba Yixin. But Shiba concealed part of the truth with all his heart, the most important of which was the appearance of Kurosaki Masaki. In the center of the team room, Captain Yamamoto stood with a majestic gaze. Luyun. Captain Yamamoto asked. I already know this from Shiba Yixin, besides the mysterious blankness, do you have anything to add? After a short thought, Luyun responded calmly. Report to the chief, what Captain Shiba said is the whole truth, and I have nothing to add. Really? Then I want to ask you. Captain Yamamoto stared at Luyun, and asked in a cold voice. The reason why Shiba Yixin went to Karakura town on his own initiative is because the job of the 10th Division is the patrol guard, and you, as the chief of the Kido, are going to Karakura town. What is the reason? Captain Yamamoto's tone was cold, as if he was angry. Advertisement. For a time, the atmosphere became extremely dignified. Without saying a word, everyone cast sympathetic glances at Luyun. To be reasonable, once Captain Yamamoto is really angry, he will be punished. Captain, I was entrusted by Matsumoto Rangaku, the deputy captain of the 10th Division, to secretly protect the safety of Captain Shiba. Because she is aware of the danger of this mission, but due to her own ability, she can only implore me go to Karakura town. Luyun answered calmly, not intimidated by the captain's anger. Really? I see. Contrary to everyone's expectations, Captain Yamamoto quickly calmed down, said. Although the unauthorized attack should be held accountable, but because of the decisive action, the sacrifice of the team members was minimized. In addition, you saved Shiba Yixin lives, and suffered only minor losses in this world. In summary, Captain Yamamoto said in a high voice, this violation will not be held accountable. The verdict was beyond everyone's expectations, but they were soon relieved. After all, Captain Yamamoto has always valued Luyun very much. Even when Luyun suppressed Room 46, he did not pursue responsibility, let alone this matter. Phew, finally there is no danger. Shiba breathed a sigh of relief, and hurriedly bowed to the captain. Captain, thank you very much. On the other side, Luyun nodded gratefully at Captain Yamamoto, and consciously returned to the queue. Captain Yamamoto then asked. The report only describes the abnormality of Hollow. It would be best if there is nothing left. But, is there really nothing else that needs to be specifically described? Captain Yamamoto's eyes were deep, as if he wanted to see through the minds of the two of them. At this moment, Kurosaki Masaki's face flashed across Luyun and Shiba's minds at the same time, and they responded in unison. Yes, no more. Advertisement. I see, let's adjourn the meeting. Captain Yamamoto gave the order. Everyone left the team room one after another. Aizen and Ichimaru Jin walked side by side. At this time, Hiraku Shunsui caught up with the two, and said with a hearty smile. Captain Ichimaru, sure enough, even after leaving the 5th team, you still like to stay next to Captain Aizen. Hey, did band leader Kyo forget? I said I'll always be Captain Aizen's lieutenant. It seems that your relationship is still as harmonious as ever. Hieraku Shunsui joked. Speaking of which, Sosuke, since Captain Ichimaru was transferred to the third team, the position of adjutant has been vacant. If this is the case, why don't you hurry up and find an adjutant? Doing it yourself may not be a good thing. Adjutant. There is no suitable candidate for now. Aizen responded with a smile. This time he rarely spoke, because Hinamori Momo has been poached by Luyun. Whenever this matter is mentioned, a cold light flashes in the depths of Aizen's pupils, and Luyun's inadvertent behavior has ruined his plan. On the other side, after returning to the Kido team building, Luyun accompanied Hinamori Momo to handle team affairs. Soon, he found another excuse to leave the team building. Even after returning to Soul Society, Luyun still thinks about the three mysterious Reiatsu all the time. He can't wait to rush to the present world and unravel the truth. He decides to go to Karakura town again. Advertisement. A Will Eternal Chapter 202. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. On the other side, this world. Under the blue sky, there are many quaint buildings, and the spacious streets crisscross, exuding a quiet and peaceful atmosphere everywhere. Even though the battle was fierce that night, because ordinary people can't sense Reiatsu, they can't perceive the occurrence of that battle. For ordinary human beings, they still live and work in peace and contentment, living without worries. However, for the special group of people hidden in this city, the battle that day broke the tranquility of life. On the outskirts of Karakura town, there was an old house that had been vacant for a long time. From the outside, we can clearly see the traces of the years left on the house, especially the moss left on the roof tiles, which shows that the house has experienced wind and rain. At some point, the house had a new owner and became a grocery store. Oh, it seems that there are not many customers today, but there are a lot of goods piled up in the store. The manager of the grocery store shook the folding fan lightly, sighing helplessly. The store manager has light yellow short curly hair, army green eyes, and a little stubble on his chin. I usually wear dark green short coats and light green pants, and I like to wear green bucket hats and clogs. This unique style of clothing is none other than Urahara Kazuki. Advertisement. After fleeing from the Soul Society, Urahara Kazuki and the chief Kido Tessai Tsukubishi brought Hirako Shinji and others to the present world. After some careful exploration, they decided to use Karakura town as a settlement. Coincidentally, with the help of Yi Hai, they successfully lurk in this world while disguising themselves as ordinary people. In appearance alone, they are almost no different from ordinary people. On the side, a big man in black said with disgust on his face, "Shop manager, you want to run a grocery store just because you are a hands-off shopkeeper. I think you are all focused on researching hollow, right?" The big man was dressed simply and had dark skin, but he naturally exuded an aura when he raised his hands and feet, and he was not angry. He is the former Grand Kido chief, Tessai Tsukubishi. After defecting from the Soul Society, he completely threw away all the glory and status of the past. The incarnation of the big Kido, who was respected by countless people, has become an inconspicuous grocery store clerk. Urahara Kazuki chuckled softly and said, "Yo ho ho ho, don't say I seem to be doing nothing, Mr. Kido. Over the years, although I haven't found a way to crack hollow, at least the deterioration has been stabilized and the situation has been stabilized. Allowing Hirako Shinji and the others to control hollow's power is a crucial first step." Tessai Tsukubishi sighed heavily. Well, after all, it is impossible to completely eliminate that power. Is it because of the lack of Hogyoku? Urahara Kazuki nodded. That's right. If you have Hogyoku, you may be able to speed up the progress of the research, but it's a pity that Hogyoku was left by me in the Soul Society, so the only way to rely on it is to rely on time to accumulate slowly. Tessai Tsukubishi patted him on the shoulder vigorously, encouraging. Don't worry, I believe that with your creativity, one day you will be able to find a way to break hollow. Urahara Kazuki looked up to the sky, and when he saw the red clouds hanging in the sky, his eyes couldn't help showing a hint of yearning. He murmured in a low voice. I don't know what happened to the Soul Society, I hope they can stop Aizen's conspiracy. Are you reminiscing about that night? Tessai Tsukubishi pressed. Advertisement. Yeah, oh. Urahara Kazuki shook his folding fan lightly, and sighed heavily. Although I didn't come to the scene in person, but based on the signs of Reiatsu fluctuations, there are at least 2 captains in the corpse. 1 inch. You think, the Soul Society has discovered our hiding place? Tessai Tsukubishi's eyes flashed with a gleam. No, it's not Gote 13 I'm worried about, it's Aizen. Urahara Kazuki said solemnly. The hollow that appeared that day is already very close to Shinigami and Hollow's barrier, to some extent, and it can even be called a perfect test product. The shop manager shrugged his shoulders and said with a wry smile. Unexpectedly, after decades, Aizen's research on Hollow has gone a step further. That guy, if you let him get the full Hogyoku, I'm afraid, Tessai Tsukubishi didn't continue to say, the consequences are obvious. Aizen is invincible in front of him. Ask for flowers. Actually, what makes me most curious is not the head, but the person who launched the slash. Urahara Kazuki said suspiciously. The Reiatsu from him is very strange, and I have never met it before I defected. I am curious, where did such a powerful person appear? In addition, his behavior is also very strange. The power of the slash is so great, but it did not damage the world. Obviously, he launched the slash towards the sky. Urahara Kazuki smiled meaningfully. If I'm not mistaken, Aizen also came to Karakura town that night. Advertisement. Aizen is here too. How is that possible? Tessai Tsukubishi asked puzzled. Because, he's wearing an insulating cloak I developed with my own hands. Urahara Kazuki smiled awkwardly. Oh, what a careless person, I left those things in Soul Society. If Aizen was there, he would be very surprised. Based on guesswork and deduction alone, Urahara Kazuki has seen all the truth. It seems that we must be more cautious. Aizen seems to have learned that we are hiding in Karakura town. Is the peace of decades going to be broken again? Tessai Tsukubishi said worriedly. Don't worry, Hiroko Shinji and the others have recovered their fighting power. No matter how many plots Aizen has, they dare not attack the world rashly. What's more, there is Mr. Yamamoto here. Urahara Kazuki said cheerfully, shaking his folding fan. At this moment, a voice came from outside the door. Hi, is anyone there? Urahara Kazuki hurried to the door of the store, but saw a young man in purple luxurious clothes. This man is precisely Luyun. Relying on the memory of that day, Luyun actually found him. P.S. In the past few days, I have to face the siege of 3 aunts and 6 wives. I only have free code words at night. Please forgive me. Guaranteed 3 changes every day. After the Chinese New Year, it resumes 5 shifts every day. In addition, I wish you a happy new year and a happy holiday. Advertisement. Chapter 203. My name is Urahara Kazuki. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. This man is a young man in purple luxurious clothing. It is Luyun. In fact, the reason why Luyun came to this unremarkable grocery store was purely by accident. He could only vaguely sense this area, but he didn't know the exact hiding place of Urahara Kazuki and others. Maybe it's intuition, maybe it's fate. On this ordinary day, the two finally met. He was once one of the famous geniuses of the Soul Society, the founder of the Technology Development Bureau, the former captain of the 12th Squad, and the only man recognized by Aizen. The other is the head of Kido, who is in the limelight, and is known as the most outstanding talent in the history of Soul Society. Because of Shu Bai's appearance, the two are closely connected by the rope of fate. Yo ho ho, brother, 677, you are the first guest today. Urahara Kazuki shook the folding fan lightly and smiled playfully. Are you the manager of this grocery store? Luyun carefully observed Urahara Kazuki, but found nothing unusual, and didn't even sense any signs of Reiatsu fluctuations. On the surface, Urahara Kazuki is more like an ordinary human being. Yes, you're welcome. But having said that, brother, your outfit seems a bit strange. Urahara Kazuki said with interest. Ah, I came here from another city, maybe it's because of the different customs. Why, don't you welcome me? Luyun casually found an excuse to respond. For some reason, he always felt that the man in front of him was not as simple as he appeared on the surface. Advertisement. When looking at Urahara Kazuki, Luyun can feel a calmness that is beyond ordinary people, but this kind of eyes will never appear in ordinary human beings. Intuition told him that this mysterious man might be the one he was looking for. Wherever you are, you can take whatever goods you need. Just remember to put the money on the table when you leave. Urahara Kazuki shook the folding fan lightly, and said viciously, one more thing to remind my brother, I don't have any discounts here. Really? Then I'll go in and have a look. Luyun walked past Urahara Kazuki and went straight into the grocery store. When he turned his back to Urahara Kazuki, a flash of light flashed deep in the latter's pupils, as if he was also suspicious. That's right, with the first impression, Urahara Kazuki can feel that Luyun is not simple. However, he also didn't feel any Reiatsu from Luyun. This is what Urahara Kazuki was most puzzled about. It stands to reason that if he is the captain of Gote 13, he must have the extremely powerful Reiatsu. After all, he is the only one who can isolate Reiatsu. Open black lens bracket ye by close black lens bracket. Could it be that this is an illusion? Urahara Kazuki frowned slightly, unable to confirm Luyun's identity for a while. Luyun smiled slightly, ignored it, and still walked towards the door. After decades, Urahara Kazuki has never shown this expression. A middle-aged man with dark skin and a strong figure showed an active smile. The moment the two passed by, Luyun whispered beside Urahara Kazuki. If I'm not mistaken, this is your real identity. Advertisement. At this moment, time freezes instead. Well, it seems that there is nothing I'm looking for here. Lu Yun sighed, pretending to be disappointed, then turned and walked towards the gate. Urahara Kazuki restrained his smile, and said in a deep voice, "My name is Urahara Kazuki." His face changed in surprise, and the movements of his hands stopped, because there was a violent wave in his heart. Ever since, he passed Urahara Kazuki's side again. But, you seem to be displaying expired products here. Lu Yun glanced slightly, and said with black lines all over his face. He was originally a human being, but the power in his body was transformed into Reiatsu because of the fusion of spirit suns. So when he intentionally restrains his own Reiatsu, the effect is the same as Yoshiko. Lu Yun's expression changed, and he asked seriously, "Tell me, your name." "I don't have such bad taste." Former head of the Soul Society Grand Keto. Opening a store to sell fake goods, are these people really doing business with their heart? Although he was surprised in his heart, as a man recognized by Aizen, Urahara Kazuki quickly calmed down. He still shook his folding fan at 2.4, and said with a loose and humorous smile, "Oh hee, no wonder my little brother has been staring at me just now. I thought you took a fancy to me. The date on the label on the back of the product has clearly passed." Lu Yun's eyes swept back and forth between the two of them, and said with emotion, "The two people who were so beautiful back then would be willing to hide in an inconspicuous grocery store in this world. I really didn't expect it." Walking into the grocery store, Lu Yun looked around. A wide range of products are neatly placed on the shelves. In addition, Lu Yun also found the figure of Tessai Tsukubishi. Advertisement. "Did you just leave like this? What a pity. If this continues, the grocery store will close down." Urahara Kazuki's distressed voice came from behind Lu Yun. "This picture seems to be a bit inconsistent." "Nothing. I just want to ask you a question. This little brother is really a rare customer. If it weren't for your care, the business of the grocery store would be very bleak today." Tessai Tsukubishi took the initiative to speak, and a smile that did not match his figure appeared under the thick reflective eyes. "Oh hee, it seems that the little brother knows a lot. Why, are you interested in me?" Urahara Kazuki teased. Lu Yun was speechless. The moment Lu Yun's voice fell, the air suddenly became quiet. The original smile on Urahara Kazuki's face froze in vain for a moment. This time it was different. Just as you guessed. The former captain of the 12th Division, the director of the Technology Development Bureau First Generation, the man who awakened Bankai in 3 days. Unless Lu Yun exposes himself deliberately, no one will be able to sense his power. Lu Yun is not a native Rukongai resident, but a time traveler. "Well, I'm sorry, I thought there were no customers coming, so I just put some products at random for appearance." Tessai Tsukubishi said, a little embarrassed. 0. In fact, no one can hide from Urahara Kazuki's perception, except Lu Yun. Advertisement. Chapter 204, Lu Yun's request. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. "My name is Urahara Kazuki." Urahara Kazuki did not continue to hide, but directly solved Lu Yun's doubts. He voluntarily admitted it. From Urahara Kazuki's point of view, since Lu Yun has come to the door in person, there is no need to continue to hide. As expected, the Reiatsu sensed that day was sent by you too. Lu Yun said thoughtfully. "It is precisely because of that brief moment that they can meet today. It has to be said that this is a kind of fate, and it is a fateful encounter. Shop manager, since he recognized our identities, why not?" Tessai Tsukubishi said in a majestic manner with a cold light flashing deep in his pupils. He doesn't have a bad temper like Urahara Kazuki. Tessai Tsukubishi is a very serious person at heart. Tessai Tsukubishi's state of mind is affected when an identity that has been hidden for decades is suddenly revealed, causing him to rage. At this moment, his only idea is to use Kido to suppress Lu Yun and seal him in the basement of the grocery store. 20 Only in this way can we ensure that they continue to hide safely in this world. However, this proposal was blocked by Urahara Kazuki. Advertisement. Urahara Kazuki shook his folding fan lightly, smiled calmly and said, "Don't be impulsive, Tessai. This little brother hasn't expressed his intention to come here yet. If you make a rash move, it's not the way you should treat customers." He turned around and asked seriously, "Brother, tell me, what is your purpose? If there is no special matter, I have no choice but to ask you to leave here. Don't get me wrong, the reason why I came here is not to represent Gote 13's position, but to come to Karakura town privately." Lu Yun took the initiative to explain his purpose. "Oh, what is the identity of the little brother?" Urahara Kazuki asked curiously. "Commander of the Kido, commander of the Great Kido." Lu Yun shifted his gaze to Tessai Tsukubishi, and said in a deep voice. "What? You are the current Daikido?" Tessai Tsukubishi blurted out, extremely shocked inside. At least from the appearance, Lu Yun is very young. What a terrifying talent it takes to be the head of the Grand Kido at such a young age. What's more, Luyun was still able to find this place even under the condition of using Yaiku, which shows how terrible Luyun is. Urahara Kazuki and Tessai Tsukubishi couldn't help feeling puzzled. When did Soul Society emerge with an outstanding talent? But even if they are as strong as them, it will take time to grow into a strong person who is uniquely capable. This is a relatively narrow room, just enough to accommodate 3 people sitting. Really, it's an honor to be able to drink the tea made by the former captain of the 12th Division. Luyun picked up the teacup and tasted it freely. Byakuya Kuchiki, Ichimaru Jin, Shiba Kayan and many more. There are several cups of brewed tea on the wooden table, full of fragrance. Advertisement. That's right, I came to Karakura town at the risk of being punished by Captain Yamamoto. I do have one thing I want to ask you. Luyun said solemnly. By the way, brother, what's your name? Urahara Kazuki asked. Urahara Kazuki shook the folding fan lightly, and asked tentatively, so what do you think, little brother? Who is the mastermind behind all this? We have been separated for decades. Speaking of which, little brother, you should know better than us, that's right. It's a good name. Brother, come in and sit down. Don't worry, I will solve all the doubts in your heart. Urahara Kazuki put away the folding fan and sat in a, please, posture. In the impression of the two of them, there are only a few of Gote 13 guys who can be called geniuses. It seems. You also hate that man who always smiles. Luyun didn't say Aizen's name directly, but said it tactfully. Luyun. Really? Then the little brother came here all the way to chat with us, right? Urahara Kazuki smiled playfully. What about that fight that day? Urahara Kazuki asked. Luyun expressed his true thoughts. That's right, those of you who have experienced the Hollow Knight accident that year must know who is behind all this. The reason why I came to the door is to solve this doubt. Now that the two sides have stated their positions, there is no hatred at all in 910. Is there a black hand behind the scenes? It seems that my brother has also noticed it. No, I'm just an ordinary resident of Rukongai, and it's normal that you haven't heard of me. Luyun responded calmly. Brother is really amazing. You are the head of the Grand Kido at such a young age. You must be a disciple of a certain nobleman in the Seraite, right? Urahara Kazuki asked tentatively. Advertisement. It seems that Kazuki is a trustworthy person. Brother, this is the tea I brewed by myself. Most people can't taste it. Urahara Kazuki said cheerfully. Afterwards, he put down his teacup, his expression became serious, and he asked, Shop manager, can you fulfill my request? Oh he, it seems that my little brother already has the answer in his heart. Luyun nodded happily and followed Urahara Kazuki into the grocery store. No problem. Tessai Tsukubishi smiled enthusiastically, the hostility on his face was gone. Not to mention Luyun, who is a latecomer. You really know all the truth. Luyun gave a slight smile, and he had already guessed the answer from Urahara Kazuki's eyes. First of all, it can be seen from his willingness to hide in Karakura town that Urahara Kazuki has no intention of returning to Soul Society. Furthermore, before defecting that year, Urahara Kazuki did not do anything that endangered the Soul Society. Luyun's voice was high. Tell me the truth back then. After all, the enemy of the enemy is the most trustworthy friend. Urahara Kazuki turned sideways and told Tessai Tsukubishi. Tessai, hurry up and make 2 pots of good tea. I want to have a good talk with this little brother. Hey, what's your request? Urahara Kazuki asked with a smile. There is a wooden table in the center of the house, and Luyun, Urahara Kazuki Tsukubishi TL sit on one side of the wooden enclosure. Now, Urahara Kazuki has a strong interest in Luyun. Advertisement. Chapter 205 The Truth About Hollow Knight. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Tell me the truth back then. Luyun asked seriously. Is the truth important to you? Urahara Kazuki asked back. That's right. It's been decades since that incident, and you've defected from the Soul Society. But at least it gave me a solid understanding of Aizen. Luyun said, slightly displeased. I don't know why, although that person always has a smile on his face, I think he is very hypocritical. Every time I meet Aizen, there is always a chilly feeling behind him. If Ichimaru Jin is like Lion Majesty, Aizen is more like a master hidden behind the scenes, controlling everything from the shadows. Is this feeling right? Urahara Kazuki. Oh it seems that my intuition is really accurate. Urahara Kazuki shook his folding fan and praised. You can see the true face of Aizen just a few years after joining the team. We can't compare to you in this alone. We suffered a lot because of Aizen back then. Urahara Kazuki's helpless wry smile, the Hollow Knight that caused a sensation in the Soul Society, has always been a scar left in his heart. Even after so many years, everything that happened that year is still vivid. Aizen was clearly behind the scenes, but Urahara Kazuki was blamed for the five senses hypnosis, and was finally convicted by Central 46. If Shihu and Yoruichi hadn't acted, I'm afraid he is still imprisoned in infernal purgatory. It doesn't feel good to be played and applauded by Aizen. Urahara Kazuki smiled helplessly. Aizen, is he really that scary? Lu Yun frowned slightly, only then did he realize that Aizen was scary. You know, even after defecting from the Soul Society for many years, Urahara Kazuki still left many legends. Advertisement. For example, awaken Bankai in 3 days, create a technology development bureau, and so on. On the other hand, Urahara Kazuki is one of the few characters in the Soul Society in terms of strength and brains, but he is still played by Aizen in the applause. From this we can see how terrifying Aizen is. Before that, can I ask you a question? Lu Yun. Urahara Kazuki asked solemnly with a rare restrained smile. When mentioning Hogyoku, Urahara Kazuki's eyes were full of complex expressions, both longing and fearful. Break the order and rules of the Soul Society for thousands of years, and let the shackles that have bound Shinigami for countless years fall apart like jade blocks. As for being against Aizen, I'm not afraid at all. Lu Yun smiled and said nonchalantly. Urahara Kazuki explained. You must also know that Shinigami has 4 major fighting skills. But when the 4 skills reach the extreme level, the power of Shinigami can no longer be improved. At this time, an external force is needed to break the shackles of Shinigami, let it gain another power. This behavior I call it open black lens bracket hollow close black lens bracket. Urahara Kazuki chuckled softly. Lu Yun, you don't understand this. Hogyoku is an existence that can break the Shinigami restriction. Wait, Mr. Urahara. That Wang Zhao you saw that night, the carrier of the hollow condensed from the soul of Shinigami, is actually the embryonic form of hollow, but it is a product of failure. Urahara Kazuki patiently explained. A product that is fused with Shu's soul. Urahara Kazuki looked at Tessai Tsukubishi on the side, and said with a treacherous smile, if you can defeat Tessai, I will tell you where Hiriko and the others are hiding. How foolish. Advertisement. Did you fight the former Grand Kido? Lu Yun said loudly with burning eyes. As the current head of Kido, I really want to appreciate the demeanor of Mr. Tessai back then. Breaking the Shinigami restriction, you mean gaining the virtual power. Lu Yun suddenly realized. Urahara Kazuki smiled awkwardly. Aha, this secret is only known to a few people. Urahara Kazuki took a sip from his teacup and said with a happy smile. Although the business is bleak, but we have a rare customer like my brother, it seems that today is really a good day. Back then, when conducting scientific research experiments, I once fused Naxu's soul to create an unconscious product, but this product has extremely powerful abilities, and even made me feel very dangerous. Lu Yun's eyes widened in disbelief. After all, the fusion of hundreds of virtual souls is an unprecedented thing. And wanting to accomplish this not only requires a huge price, but only a few people can accomplish it. Lu Yun with the power of One Punch Man is not afraid at all. Stand. Urahara Kazuki went on to say. Although it was only a prototype at the time, I had a feeling of uneasiness, and I was even afraid that I would not be able to control it. When we talk about the truth, we have to mention something that I accidentally developed back then. All the conspiracies are due to its existence. Urahara Kazuki's face changed, and he said in a deep voice. But, what's the problem? Lu Yun asked. Advertisement. So that's the case. No wonder the Manos Grande raid occurred in the Soul Society. It turns out that Aizen is behind everything. Lu Yun said coldly. I call it Hogyoku. Very good. Sure enough, I saw the right person. Also, brother, if you want to get in touch with Hollow, you can go to Hiriko Shinji and the others. But, if you want to know their specific hiding place, it's not that easy. Unless Aizen is confident that he can stand alone against his Zanpakuto open black lens bracket invincible close black lens bracket and Zanpakuto open black lens bracket Ryujin Jaka close black lens bracket, he will never act rashly. Lu Yun responded frankly. Actually, I have no hatred with Aizen, but I can feel that he often observes me secretly. To be honest, I feel that this person is very dangerous, and he is not as content with the status quo as other captains. Therefore, I came to Karakura town on purpose. The purpose is to solve all doubts. But Lu Yun shrugged helplessly. Hogyoku. Such a common name, is it really that scary? Aizen will do anything to get it. Because any conspiracy is a joke in the face of absolute strength. Maybe others will think Aizen is scary, maybe others will be afraid of Aizen's conspiracy. Lu Yun hurriedly interrupted him, and asked in a daze. After talking for a long time, I don't know what the so-called it is worth. What exactly is your position? Are you willing to fight Aizen? Urahara Kazuki demanded sharply. That's right. The moment he restrained his smile, the atmosphere became extremely dignified. Advertisement. Chapter 206 Kido's Peak Showdown. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Shop manager, you cheated on me again. Tessai Tsukubishi complained in dissatisfaction. I never said that I would have a keto duel with little brother Luyun, how dare you make your own claims? He lightly raised his reflective eyes, and said in a strange way, it seems, it's time for you to take your medicine again. Come on, take it quickly. Tessai Tsukubishi pulled out a pill out of nowhere and forced it into Urahara Kazuki's mouth. Grunt. After Urahara Kazuki swallowed the pill, his face became embarrassing, and he complained weakly. Damn, it's an expired pill again. Tessai, you guys are really too much, I'm going to feel the fear of being dominated by diarrhea again. Quote. A treacherous smile appeared on the corner of Tessai Tsukubishi's mouth, and then he said solemnly, who told you to cheat me first, store manager? This is the resistance of the store staff. Looking at the two people making fun of each other, Luyun's face was full of black lines, and he shrugged helplessly. He even wondered if he had found the wrong person. Are these two incomprehensible guys really big figures who were once famous in the Soul Society? In other words, time has smoothed their edges and corners. In fact, he defected from the Soul Society, lived in seclusion in Karakura town, and became an unknown grocery store clerk from the famous Soul Society's 257 captain. Advertisement. It is the huge contrast between the front and back that makes Urahara Kazuki and Tessai Tsukubishi look down on everything. Honor, fame, status. After the accident that year, everything became irrelevant. To some extent, they are neither Shinigami nor human beings, but a group of aliens lingering in this world. On weekdays, you must beware of Gote 13's detection and the danger set by Aizen. They are under high pressure all day long, so making fun of each other has become their daily life, and this is the only bit of freedom they have. All because of that man who was good at disguising. Aizen Sosuke. The entire cave is transparent and bright, with undulating hills, vast terrain, and rich spiritual seeds. It's so amazing. Luyun was startled at first, but soon relieved. In fact, the room where he fought Unohana Retsu was in the same basement as Urahara's grocery store. Tessai Tsukubishi said confidently. You don't have to worry about Keto destroying this place, you must go all out. Oh, Captain Yamamoto took the initiative to teach you Keto. How rare. Seeing the environment here, I can't help but recall the scene of practicing Keto with Captain Yamamoto, Mr. Sai. Luyun recalled. Learn all Keto above number 90 in one day, what a joke. That's right, Captain Yamamoto hasn't been disappointed at all. Luyun said calmly. Advertisement. I didn't expect little brother Luyun to be so humorous. But, making fun of Keto without authorization, I don't agree with this kind of behavior. Tessai Tsukubishi changed his words, and his face became extremely gloomy. The basement. Are we going to have a Keto duel there? Luyun asked doubtfully. Wow, it's too bad, I'm going to have diarrhea. Tessai, you take brother Luyun to the basement first. Urahara Kazuki hurried to the other side of the room with a purple face. By the way, Mr. Tessai, is this really okay? Luyun, this is where we will fight. When there was a disagreement, Tessai Tsukubishi took the lead. Tessai Tsukubishi's eyes were fixed, and he said in a deep voice, is it a Keto above number 90? The corner of Luyun's mouth twitched, and he said helplessly, obviously you fed him the medicine. Well, leave him alone, let me go to the basement first. Tessai Tsukubishi seemed guilty, and changed the subject in embarrassment. Quickly, through a special passage, Luyun followed Tai Li to the basement. Read Baoshuang novels, go to Phailu Novel Network. There is a secret space hidden under the Urahara grocery store. To be precise, it was a spacious and bright burrow. Luyun shrugged helplessly, and said with a wry smile, in order not to disappoint him, I just have to go all out to practice. Invisible pretend, the deadliest. So, you learned all the Keto in one day. Tessai Tsukubishi didn't change his face, but his heart was turned upside down, he couldn't believe this fact. Advertisement. He folded his hands and shouted loudly. As long as they hide in this underground space, no matter how powerful Aizen's methods are, they will not be able to find their traces. Tessai Tsukubishi slightly pushed up the black-rimmed glasses on the bridge of his nose, and said solemnly, I mean the basement, not the kind of dark and irrelevant space you think. Hados 88. Flying dragon strikes thief and shakes the sky. That's right, the captain is really demanding on me, he actually asked me to control Keto above number 91 day before. More importantly, although it is a cave, it is densely covered with plants, and there are even several steaming hot springs. That's right. Oh, what an unreliable store manager. If this continues, the grocery store will close down sooner or later. Tessai Tsukubishi sighed helplessly, with a look of extreme disgust under the black reflective eyes cafe. These Keto prohibitions have been the brainchild of Urahara Kazuki and Tessai Tsukubishi for decades, and are the reason why they have been able to hide in Karakura town for so many years. Hot air is constantly floating above the hot spring, forming a hazy mist, revealing a faint psychedelic feeling. The hot water flowing in the hot spring is also very unusual, not only crystal clear, but even a few flashes appear from time to time. Obviously, these clear springs have special effects. He pointed down and explained. Under the Urahara grocery store, there is a secret space hidden. After decades of arrangement, it has formed a unique space. Sunshine, hills, and even spirits, everything is there. What's more, I set up multiple space barriers there. Even if we start a keto duel there, it will not affect Karakura town at all. Suddenly, a blue beam of light gushed out from his palm, rolling towards Luyun violently. The more relaxed Luyun acted, the more shocked Tessai Tsukubishi was. The structure of the entire underground space is extremely special. The moment one stepped into it, Lu Kuao felt the keto restriction hidden in the air. Advertisement. Chapter 207. Four beasts seize the door. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. In the case of a disagreement, Tessai Tsukubishi took the lead in launching the offensive. A bright beam of light emanated from his palm. Bang. The blue light shines and is majestic. Even without chanting, Tessai Tsukubishi's Hado is still powerful. The Eisen beam contains the breath of silence, as if it can destroy everything. Luyun faced it calmly, even though his eyes were constantly flashing with blue light, and the blue light beams were also constantly enlarged in his eyelids. Luyun was calm and composed, and even smiled frankly. Bakudo's 81, Splitting Void. Without chanting, Luyun directly casts Bakudo. Suddenly, a huge transparent barrier stood in front of Luyun, tall and staring, seemingly unbreakable. At this time, the blue beam of light almost covered Luyun's field of vision. The beam of light collided with the light curtain, and a loud noise erupted. But even if the blue light completely dissipated, the transparent light curtain did not move at all. From the beginning to the end, Luyun didn't even move his feet, but stood there confidently. Advertisement. Mr. Tessai, you seem to be too impatient. Luyun smiled slightly, and teased in turn. Sure enough, there are two brushes, and they actually blocked the flying dragon and the thunder cannon under the singing of abandonment. Although Tessai Tsukubishi did not change his face, he was greatly shocked in his heart. Although he hasn't made a move for decades, his accomplishments on Keto have improved. Even so, there was still nothing Luyun could do. Could it be that Luyun really mastered all Keto above 90 in one day? Impossible. Tessai Tsukubishi frowned, resolutely dismissing this idea. He always thought that no genius could do that. Eisen is impossible, Urahara Kazuki is also impossible. It seems that Mr. Tessai is doubting what I said. Luyun read his mind from Tessai Tsukubishi's eyes, and said helplessly. I can't help it, just let you see the Keto I have mastered. Luyun's eyes became serious and dignified, and Keto's chant came from his mouth. The edge of Senju, the untouchable hand of the dark venerable, the untouchable archer of the sky, the road of brilliance, fanning the wind of fire. When we gather together, don't be confused, just follow my instructions. Light bullets, 8 bodies, 9 articles, heavenly scriptures, disease treasures, big wheels, gray turrets, bowed to the distance, and dissipated away brightly. Hado's 91-day hand valve Tiantai cannon. As Luyun's chants fell, the entire sky seemed to become dim. A mysterious force seems to cross the boundary of space, suddenly appearing in reality. The dull sky was filled with a sudden burst of red light. The majestic spiritual power in Luyun's body condensed into a cone of light. In just an instant, countless light cones appeared around his body. At this moment, time seems to be frozen. In order to have a deterrent effect, Luyun went all out to cast Hado. Sure enough, when the sky darkened, Tsukubishi Tailee's expression also became dull. This is really Hado 91, this guy didn't even lie. Tessai Tsukubishi's mind went blank, unable to accept this fact for a while. Advertisement. Back then, even if he was very talented, he needed more than 10 years of practice to barely master Hado above number 90. And Luyun only used one. This is probably too exaggerated. Could it be that Gote 13 has become so big after only a few decades away from Soul Society? Mr. Tessai, if you distract yourself at this time, you will be obliterated by the light cone. Luyun kindly reminded. HMPH. Don't think you can bluff me with Hado 91. It's not that easy to beat me. The proud son of heaven, the Iron City Wall, the Dragon's Walk, the Lion's Roar, the Tiger's Roar, the Wolf's Run, cut off the world before it collapses. Hado's 81, Splitting Void. Tessai Tsukubishi clasped his hands together, and an almost solid curtain of light towered in front of him. Not only that, but he went on to cast Bakudo. 73 of Bakudo, Daoshin Jing. 0 Looking for Flowers. 39 of Bakudo, the Round Gate Fan. The 3 Bakudo overlap each other, forming an impassable barrier. It's really a big battle. But these are useless. Luyun first praised, and then shook his head slightly disappointed. He pointed in the air, and the cone of light shot forward. Boom. Advertisement. The crimson cone of light streaked across the sky like a meteor, violently blasting forward. Click. There was hardly any resistance, the transparent light curtain was shattered, and the other two barriers were also broken. Wow. Tessai Tsukubishi groaned, his body flew upside down, and hit the sand dune heavily. At this time, his image became extremely embarrassing, countless holes appeared in the old tights, and even the pair of black reflective eyes were completely shattered. Even with all his strength, Tsukubishi Taili still couldn't resist Luyun's edge. Mr. Tessai, I've said it all, it's not a good thing to be distracted during a battle. Luyun smiled playfully. I think you won't doubt my strength anymore, right? So, should you also come up with the means that I look forward to? Although Tessai Tsukubishi was temporarily suppressed by Senju Jiaoshan Taipao, Luyun didn't think that Tessai Tsukubishi's strength was limited to this level. As the former head of the Grand Kido, he must still have a killer weapon. It's really shameful to be beaten up by a junior. Tessai Tsukubishi got up, and smiled awkwardly. Luyun brother, now I believe what you said. But, you are right, since I was able to sit firmly in the position of the chief Kido back then, it is my fault humanity. It may have been decades, and it is finally about to be used again. Tessai Tsukubishi's eyes were burning, and his momentum kept rising. At this time, I can vaguely feel the demeanor of the great Kido back then from him. Tessai Tsukubishi clasped his hands together, and Reiatsu burst out, shouting loudly. Bakudo, the gate of the Salu Kingdom. P.S. Sorry, there are 3 more updates, code word 3. Advertisement. Chapter 208 Bakudo's 99, Swastika. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Tessai Tsukubishi clasped his hands together, and Reiatsu burst out, shouting loudly. Bakudo, the 4 beasts seaman. Immediately afterwards, Bakudo's chant came from his mouth. The army is 8 inches, and never backs down. The blue door, the white door, the black door, the red door, sink into the sea one after another. The gate of dragon tail. The gate of the tiger bite. The gate of the turtle armor. The gate of the phoenix wing. As the chant fell, 4 different things appeared in the center of the basement. Huge protective shield, turtle-shaped shield, red ring, large shield. These 4 things formed a huge square fortress, trapping Luyun's body inside. The 4 beast semen is one of the strongest moves beyond the usual Bakudo. In the entire Soul Society, 597, only Tessai Tsukubishi and Hashigan have mastered this trick. In those days, this was also one of the tricks that the 2 former Kido chiefs became famous for. After many years, one of the most powerful Bakudo arts returns. Advertisement. Tisk tisk, let me just say, as a big Kido leader, how can I have no cards? Luyun showed a satisfied smile on his face. In fact, this was the first time he had witnessed the special Bakudo art of 4 beast seaman. When he was practicing Kido with Captain Yamamoto, he didn't even know the existence of this special Bakudo art. Only when you are personally trapped in the fortress can you experience the feeling of despair. The surrounding shields and rings formed a special airtight space. Trapped here, Luyun vaguely felt that the passage of time seemed to be slowing down, and the speed of Reiatsu flowing in his body also slowed down accordingly. In other words, if Luyun is trapped for a long time, Luyun's strength will continue to weaken. The longer the time, the more unable he was to escape from this confined space. And in the end, the heavy city gate will completely crush his body. Why, Luyun, you seem to be caught off guard. It seems that Captain Yamamoto didn't pass on the essence of Kido to you. Wei Tai said confidently. In his opinion, the highest state of practicing Kido is not simply to master the number 99 Kido, but to create an additional Kido on the basis of the original one. Only those who have reached the realm of being able to create powerful Kido arts can be considered truly great Kido masters. Although it is indeed a miracle to master all Kido arts in one day. But if you want to truly become a Kido master, you must create your own Kido technique. It's a pity. Luyun hasn't reached that step yet. Luyun, admit defeat. Trapped in the 4-beast gate, even the Senju cannon cannot destroy it. Tessai Tsukubishi persuaded while patting the dust off his body. Admit defeat. Uncle Tessai, do you seem to be very confident in the 4 beasts? A playful smile appeared on Luyun's face, and he chuckled lightly. But, you seem to have forgotten that I don't know a Hado technique. Really? Then you can give it a try. Tessai Tsukubishi folded his arms, a look of arrogance appeared on his vicissitudes of face. He has absolute self-confidence, even if Luyun casts Senju Bright Sky Elimination Cannon again, he will not be able to blow up the 4 beast gates. It seems that uncle is really confident. Luyun restrained his smile, Reiatsu surged in his body, and Kido chants came out of his mouth again. Advertisement. It faintly reveals the muddy coat of arms, and the talent of being unruly and arrogant. Surge negative paralyzed for a moment, hindering the eternal sleep. The crawling iron princess, the clay doll who was constantly self-mutilating, combines, rebounds, and extends to the ground, knowing her own powerlessness. 90 of Hado, Black Coffin. The moment the chant fell, the surroundings became extremely dim. This is Black Coffin. Tessai Tsukubishi fixed his eyes, and a strong uneasiness emerged in his heart. Although Black Coffin is one rank lower than Senju Jiaoshan Taipao, its power is comparable. What's more, in such a closed space, the maximum power of Black Coffin can happen to be displayed. Reiatsu is thick and condenses continuously, and then evolves into a desperate deep black. Tessai Tsukubishi's heart seems to have an illusion, he has fallen into an endless abyss. He took a step back instinctively, using his own Reiatsu to dispel the darkness around him, and only then did he regain his peace of mind. At this time, a TV University Black Coffin appeared in the field of vision. The Black Coffin is extremely huge, like a huge black coffin, exuding a dead breath on the surface. Under Luyuan's control, Black Coffin happened to surround the four beasts. Immediately, countless black shadow blades pierced through the Black Coffin, stabbing violently at the four city gates. Boom boom boom. The deafening sound continued to echo. Shockingly, tiny cracks appeared in the originally impenetrable city gate. Damn it, the gate of the four beasts actually shows signs of collapse. At this moment, Tessai Tsukubishi could no longer calm down. Except for the cracks visible to the naked eye, the whole fortress was shaking violently. There are faint signs of collapse. Advertisement. It seems that I have to go all out. Tessai Tsukubishi's eyes flickered with a strange light, faintly showing signs of madness. Although the four-beast seaman is powerful, it is not his strongest method. He also hides a killer weapon. Tessai Tsukubishi's eyes were fixed, and the chants came out again. 99 of Bakudo, Forbidden. The first song, Stop Stretching. 2 songs, 100 links. At this time, huge cloth strips and iron spikes poured into the gate of the four-beast village, tightly suppressing Black Coffin. Meanwhile, Tessai Tsukubishi's Kai 1.3 climbed to the top. He looked up to the sky and roared. Finale, Swastika Typhon. In an instant, a huge steel with a swastika fell from the sky, crushing the huge Black Coffin unexpectedly. Not only that, but the stels continued to descend, trying to suppress Luyuan as well. It's over, Luyuan. Gripping Tai Li raised a triumphant smile from the corner of his mouth. However, even though his whole body was shrouded in the shadow of the steel, Luyuan's expression remained unchanged. He said calmly, Mr. Tessai, maybe you think the victory is sealed. It seems. You seem to have forgotten that I once said that you can master all Kido in one day. My strongest move is not Hado 90, 91. Instead, the 99 of Hado. Advertisement. Chapter 209 Hado's 99, 5 Swirling Dragons of Destruction. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. My strongest move is not just Black Coffin and Black Coffin, but Hado no 99, 5 Swirling Dragons of Destruction. Luyuan's deep voice came from inside the Four Beasts Gate. At this moment, the entire basement became extremely peaceful, only the words, 5 Swirling Dragons of Destruction, echoed continuously. Even when Tessai Tsukubishi heard these 4 words, his face became stiff. There was a storm in his heart, and he was too shocked to speak for a long time. The legendary strongest Hado 5 Swirling Dragons of Destruction. When he said the last few words, Tessai Tsukubishi swallowed his saliva fiercely, his eyes filled with strong longing. As the Hado technique with the highest serial number, 5 Swirling Dragons of Destruction has always been regarded as a legendary existence, and it seems that it has existed since the establishment of Gotei 13. However, in the thousands of years of history, it has never appeared. Mysterious and powerful, with the power to destroy everything, this is the first impression 5 Swirling Dragons of Destruction brings to everyone. It seems that only Captain Yamamoto, who bears the title of Top 20 Shinigami, has the ability to control it. Hundreds of years ago, when he was practicing Kido, Tessai Tsukubishi heard about Hado 99 from Captain Yamamoto, but unfortunately he never had the chance to witness it. It's not that Captain Yamamoto is unwilling to teach him, but that the power of the 5 Swirling Dragons of Destruction is too powerful. Unless you have the strength to control this power, otherwise, practicing 5 Swirling Dragons of Destruction forcibly will only bring unexpected evil results. It is also for this reason that despite the long history of Gotei 13, there are only a handful of people who have mastered Hado 99. Advertisement. In addition to Captain Yamamoto, I am afraid there are only those mysterious guys in the Zero Division. Even Aizen at this stage has not mastered Hado 99. From this we can see how powerful this technique is. Tessai Tsukubishi breathed heavily, trying to calm down. Once the chief Kido of the Soul Society, it can be said that 5 Swirling Dragons of Destruction is one of the beliefs of almost every Kido. Being able to master 5 swirling dragons of destruction means that you have climbed to a certain height on the road of Kido. Mastering the 5 swirling dragons of destruction is the dream of every Kido, even one as strong as Tessai Tsukubishi. It's a pity that the cockle grass could not reach this height in his whole life. This is also one of Tessai Tsukubishi's biggest regrets. Luyun, you mean? You have mastered 5 swirling dragons of destruction. Tessai Tsukubishi calmed down and asked again in a deep voice. Is this answer important to you, Uncle Tessai? Luyun asked back. Very important. Tessai Tsukubishi said categorically. It doesn't matter whether you are bluffing or making the last struggle. In any case, if you really mastered 5 swirling dragons of destruction, then please use it without reservation. Bar. Tessai Tsukubishi almost used a pleading tone, and the excitement in his heart could be clearly felt from the slightly trembling voice. At this time, he is no longer the elder Kido who dominated the Soul Society, but a pious pilgrim. Tessai Tsukubishi lost his composure in order to witness the summit of Kido with his own eyes. Advertisement. Uncle Tessai, although I can't see your face clearly when you are trapped in the gate of the 4 beasts, I can understand your feelings. As a Kido, what you yearn for the most should be the 99 of Hado, right? Quote. As the current chief Kido of Gote 13, although I don't care too much about Kido, I am well aware of the power of 5 swirling dragons of destruction. Once cast, the entire basement may be destroyed. But in order to give you due respect, and to win this duel, I will do my best to use 5 swirling dragons of destruction. Luyun's voice is not loud, but has a strong confidence. As a junior, he has mastered all Hado. In a way, he has surpassed Tessai Tsukubishi. Of course, this must exclude the Sato Hado, in the possession of royal agents. Although Hado's power is stronger than ordinary Hados, it is a secret technique that can only be practiced by the Zero Division, and ordinary people have no chance to touch it. Thus, Luyun has reached his peak on Kido. And next, he will show the demeanor of the strongest Hado technique. Luyun stood in the center of the 4 beast gates, his face became serious and dignified. Reiatsu erupted in his body, erupting like a volcano. In order to control the power of Kowloon's annihilation, Luyun unreservedly released the Reiatsu in his body. Bang! Thick and powerful Reiatsu rushed to every corner of the basement like a torrent, converging into a majestic Reiatsu ocean in just a moment. Faintly, this space seems to be pouring rain condensed by Reiatsu. Blah blah blah. Raindrops kept falling, wetting the ground and soaking Tessai Tsukubishi's clothes. Advertisement. Tessai Tsukubishi looked up in horror, letting the raindrops streak across his face. It turns out that 050 is like this. After feeling Luyun's Reiatsu, the Iron Emperor seemed to have a clear understanding. He finally knew why he couldn't master 5 swirling dragons of destruction in his life. Just because of the gap on Reiatsu. Could it be that he can master all the Kido in one day? No wonder he can be qualified for the position of Grand Kido leader at such a young age. Tessai Tsukubishi suddenly realized that there was no pride on his face anymore, but respect from the heart. Until this moment, he didn't really recognize Luyun. Inside the gate of the 4 beasts, Luyun's aura kept rising and finally reached the peak. After many years, he went all out again. However, in order to avoid the destruction of the basement, Luyun decided to give up singing after some thought. He stood tall and straight, raised his arms freely, and immediately clenched them in vain. Hado no 99, 5 swirling dragons of destruction. At this moment, an indescribable terrifying energy poured out. Reiatsu, who was hovering in midair, turned into a huge dragon, hovering mightily in midair. Roar. 5 real dragons roared to the sky, and the dragon chant resounded throughout the space. The dragon crushed the sky, and its momentum forced to oppress the sky. Wherever he went, everything was wiped out. Advertisement. Invincible Chapter 215. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Brush. A slash shot across the air like a streamer, and finally hit the thunderstorm around Yoruichi's body. Zzz. The thunderstorms formed by Kido exploded one after another, and the shining arc of lightning ravaged the entire space. When the slash and the thunderstorm collided, Yoruichi's face became extremely solemn, and a strong sense of crisis emerged in his heart. At this moment, she finally understood why Byakuya Kuchiki was defeated back then. Because Luyun's slash is too strong. Damn it. Instant Kai is so vulnerable to his slash. Yoruichi gritted her teeth, and the unyielding energy in her heart made her not choose to retreat. Yoruichi folded his arms in front of him like a cross. At this moment, Yoruichi's blood boiled, and every cell in his body let out an angry roar. It's a pity that even though Yoruichi tried his best to resist the slash, it was still useless. Advertisement. Zanpakuto Invincible's slashing strike is like an eagle soaring in the sky, going straight up against the wind, and all thunderstorms fall apart wherever it goes. Click click click. Under Yoruichi's incomparably horrified eyes, the Kido formed by Shun was wiped out, not even a slag was left. How is this possible? So, slashing is his strongest method. Yoruichi suddenly realized why Luyun didn't use Zanpakuto, but only used Shunpo and Kido to fight them. It turned out that it wasn't that he didn't have confidence in slashing, but that this power was too strong. As Luyun said, only he can control the power of Zanpakuto open black lens bracket invincible close black lens bracket in this world. Even so, Luyun didn't want to make random moves. Because once he makes a move, even he himself will be afraid. On the other side, with the pressure of the slash, Yoruichi's face became more serious. At this time, the Reiatsu Kido around her almost disappeared, and her situation was extremely dangerous. Miss Yoruichi, this is the end. A cold light flashed in Luyun's eyes, and he increased his strength with both hands. Zanpakuto, invincible, took advantage of the situation and waved downward. Boom. When the tip of the sword touched the one in both hands, Yoruichi could no longer resist the force, and his body flew upside down, falling heavily to the ground. The battle was over. Yoruichi was defeated by Luyun even with the power of instant opening. The Flash Goddess, who was famous in the Soul Society back then, was unable to resist the power of one sword invincible, after all. Advertisement. It's really embarrassing. It turned out that the incident back then was not an exaggeration. The slash he made at random really had the power to easily defeat the captain-level Shinigami. Yoruichi lay on the ground, staring weakly at the roof of the secret room with complicated eyes. For a long time, Yoruichi thought that Urahara Kazuki was the most outstanding talent she had ever seen, at least no one could break the legend left by Urahara Kazuki in the past few decades. However, after fighting Luyun, Yoruichi's concept has completely changed. Luyun is the real genius standing on the peak, whether it is Urahara Kazuki, Byakuya Kuchiki, or even Hitsugaya Toshiro can only choose to look up at his back. He is the genius standing above the clouds. Fu. Luyun stepped forward to Yoruichi's side, and stretched out his hand gently. Miss Yoruichi, get up, our duel is over. Yoruichi suddenly came back to his senses, his thoughts still stopped at the scene of the fight just now, and he couldn't let go of it for a long time. Luyun, with your strength I'm afraid it's enough to compete with Mr. Yamamoto. Yi Shijoran said. Well, you can only find out when you fight against each other. Luyun responded calmly. To be honest, after defeating many captains, the only ones who can become his opponents in the entire Soul Society are Captain Yamamoto and the mysterious Zero Team. Fighting and defeating them has always been what Luyun has been looking forward to. Although Ryujin Jaka is known as the strongest Zanpakuto in the fire department, he has the ability to destroy everything. However, Luyun is confident that his Zanpakuto open black lens bracket invincible close black lens bracket is not inferior to Ryujin Jaka. At this moment, the secret passage in the basement was opened again, and Urahara Kazuki and Tessai Tsukabishi walked down the steps and came back here again. Advertisement. Oh hehe, brother Luyun, you have just experienced the battle with Tessai, but you can defeat Yoruichi. It seems that your strength is far beyond my expectation. Urahara Kazuki shook the folding fan lightly. Praised. Shop manager Urahara, since I have defeated Uncle Tessai and Ms. Yoruichi respectively, should you also fulfill your promise? Luyun's eyes flashed brightly. Although getting along with the three of Urahara Kazuki is very pleasant, but Luyun hopes to get in touch with the mysterious masked army. Originally a captain-level powerhouse, with the powerful Shinigami power, he also integrated the power of Hollow. How strong they are, this is what Luyun is really interested in. After all, there are too few people who can make him really serious. Once the battle cannot please oneself, then life is too boring. Brother Luyun, do you want to experience the power of Hollow? Urahara Kazuki put away the folding fan and said seriously, the power of Hollow is very powerful. Although it can temporarily increase the combat power of Shinigami, this power is also difficult to control. It took decades for Tessai and I to stabilize their power. The situation. If you insist on fighting Hiroko and the others, then I advise you not to be careless. Once hollowed, Shinigami's emotions will also become indifferent, they are not as easy to get along with as us. Urahara Kazuki raised a treacherous smile at the corner of his mouth. Take it, this note records their hiding places, as long as you go there, you can find them. Urahara Kazuki handed a note to Luyun, and said softly. Interesting, the famous Soul Society back then was hiding in an abandoned warehouse. It seems that they are really unique. Luyun smiled knowingly, looking forward to meeting the masked army even more. Brother Luyun, I wish you the best of luck. Urahara Kazuki came to Luyun's side and whispered seriously. Remember, when you return to Soul Society, beware of Aizen, he is far more powerful than you can imagine. If I'm wrong, his combat power has even reached the same level as Mr. Yamamoto. Advertisement. Chapter 216 Hiroko Shinji. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Outside the Urahara grocery store. Shop manager Urahara, Uncle Tessai, and Ms. Yoruichi, there will be a period later. If I have the opportunity, I will definitely come to Karakura town again. Luyun stood outside the door of the grocery store and waved goodbye to the three of them. Brother Luyun, I am looking forward to meeting you again. Urahara Kazuki shook his folding fan lightly and cast a trusting look at Luyun. Although he only had brief contact with him, he could tell that Luyun was absolutely trustworthy. At least in a different situation, Urahara Kazuki will not worry about Luyun telling Gote 13 their hidden information. Luyun, when you see Sui Feng, you have to train her for me. Yoruichi said with a smirk on his face. What she meant was to tell Luyun to break straight Sui Feng. Well, with Captain Sui Feng's arrogant personality, it seems a bit difficult. Luyun shrugged helplessly. Don't worry, she's just a little girl who is cold on the outside and hot on the inside, you have to work hard. Yoruichi teased. Luyun, Hashigan has a much better temper than me, if you fight him, please be merciful. Tessai Tsukabishi urged. Let it go, Uncle Tessai, I will be careful. Luyun nodded slightly at the three of them. It's getting late, it's time for me to leave 210, everyone. After the words fell, his figure disappeared instantly. Advertisement. Only the three of Urahara Kazuki were left behind, as if nothing had ever happened. Kazuki, what do you think? Yoruichi asked seriously. With his strength, he must also make Aizen afraid. It seems that Aizen will not dare to act rashly until the perfect Hogyoku is fused. Maybe the Soul Society can experience a stable life again. Urahara Kazuki said calmly. I hope so, but what I'm curious about is, with Luyun's demonstrated strength, presumably Gote 13 can no longer restrain him. This remote and secluded place is the hiding place of the Masked Legion. In this barren land, even small animals can't be seen, let alone people passing by. However, the seemingly dilapidated warehouse is actually full of space Kido. It seems that this warehouse is as simple as the Urahara grocery store. He has short yellow hair and a weird smile on the corner of his mouth. Although he looks very unreliable and even a little scattered, he was a famous figure in the Soul Society decades ago. When Hiroko Shinji was the captain of the 5th Division, Aizen was even just his adjutant. From this alone, it can be seen that Hiroko Shinji has more power than ordinary captains. Oddly enough, the others seemed to take their actions for granted and ignored them. Back then, he was also the only one who noticed that Aizen had a strange heart. It's a pity that Hiroko was wary of Aizen and didn't get close to him, but this caused his biggest mistake, which led to the hollow of all the masked corps on the night of the Void. Following the address provided by Urahara Kazuki, Luyun finally found this place. Urahara Kazuki smiled slightly. Then I am also looking forward to the fight between Brother Luyun and Team Zero. Advertisement. Urahara Kazuki let out a sigh, then shook his head. You are right, Luyun has reached the peak in the 4 Shinigami skills, and indeed has the qualifications to be promoted to the Zero team. But, you forgot one thing, every Zero the members of the team are all people who have made outstanding contributions to the Soul Society. If you stand alone, I am afraid that Luyun is not qualified for the position of Team Zero. Keck. At this moment, there was a sudden fluctuation outside the warehouse gate, which immediately attracted everyone's attention. To be reasonable, this place is remote and quiet, and the surrounding area is even more desolate. Yoruichi waved his hand and said disapprovingly, with the temperament of the guys from Division 0, after meeting a genius comparable to Mr. Yamamoto, they might make unexpected moves. Yoruichi said with great anticipation, surely he already has the qualifications to be promoted to Team 0. Masked Legion, how strong are you guys? I'm really looking forward to it. As the chief Kido, Luyun can see the Kido prohibition sealed on the surface of the warehouse at a glance. Now that he has become the leader of the Masked Legion, Hiroko Shinji still hasn't changed his sloppy personality, looking lazy. On the other side, the outskirts of Karakura town. Hiyori, I'm so boring, let me tell you something. When I went shopping in Karakura town today, I met a cute girl, she is like my first love. A viewer, the man who got up and was idle, was sitting on the pile of goods by the corner, and said reluctantly. Hiroko Shinji flew upside down, with bloodline all over his face, and sighed helplessly. Hiyori, can you stop being so violent, speak up if you have something to say, and sneak up on me every time, really. Ordinary humans would find it unbearable to stay here even for a month or two, let alone live here for decades. Wow. Advertisement. At this time, another petite figure came out from the corner, jumped into the air without saying a word, kicked, and trampled on Hiroko Shinji's face fiercely with his slippers. Even though he knew that his intrusion would attract attention, Luyun still stepped forward without hesitation. There is an abandoned warehouse here, surrounded by desolation and poverty, few people have set foot in these years. Fang Yin has lived in this kind of place for decades. It seems that the Masked Legion is really a group of unique guys. Lu Yun murmured, slightly surprised. HMPH, you bald man, you only think about hooking up girls every day, go to hell. Surugaki Hiyori didn't say a word, and kicked and violently abused Hiroko again. This warehouse is very large, but it looks very dilapidated from the surface, and it even gives people a shaky feeling. These restrictions are very special, not only can isolate the interior of the warehouse from the outside world, but also have the ability to gather spiritual particles. In addition, the seal prohibition also played a warning role. Once someone breaks in without authorization, there will be wonderful fluctuations immediately, which is very similar to the gates of the Kido team buildings. Who knows? Quote. Yes. On the other side, inside the warehouse. Former 5th Division Captain, Hiroko Shinji. Hiroko Shinji wailed in pain and was continuously beaten by Hiyori. Advertisement. Chapter 217. You are not welcome here, Shinigami. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Hey, it's really rare that there are fluctuations from the Kido restriction at the warehouse gate. In a corner of the warehouse, a cute fat man with pink hair murmured in a low voice. He is the former deputy Kido chief of the Kido congregation, Hashigan. He is a person with special abilities in the entire masked army, and his enchantment ability allows the masked army to not be discovered by Shinigami for a long time. He is good at setting up barriers, and after becoming a mask, he has researched many incisive barriers. The reason why the masked army is safe and hidden in the world is largely because of Hashigan's credit. What? Someone broke in. Hiroko Shinji wiped away Bloodline's face, and said disapprovingly, should it be a human passing by unintentionally? There have been similar situations in the past few years. That's right, don't pay attention to him, ordinary humans can't break into the gate. Surugaki Hiyori clasped his arms and shouted arrogantly at Hiroko Shinji, you better manage yourself, die, baldy. After the voice fell, it was another flying kick. Wow, you bastard Hiyori, anyway, I'm also the leader of the Masked Legion, can you save me some face? Hiroko Shinji lay on the ground in embarrassment, without majesty. Advertisement. Seeing that the two kept fighting, a woman in a sailor suit put down the little yellow book in her hand and said impatiently, have you two had enough fighting? Have you time to fight? Might as well read more books. And Hiroko, you deserve to be beaten, as long as you are a cute girl, everyone says that, and you told me before, didn't you? Come on, Yadomaru Lisa, who doesn't know that you are reading pornographic books? The former captain of Division 9, Mugaruma Kensai sneered disdainfully. He has a loose personality and acts exaggeratedly. Although he seems unreliable, Hiroko Shinji was Aizen's boss back then. Surugaki Hiyori, who has a violent personality and advocates violence, is always very aggressive. Yadomaru Lisa, who wears braids, likes to wear sailor clothes, and likes to read little pornographic books. Hashigan is good at enchantment and has a simple and honest personality. Mugaruma Kensai is powerful and has a strong personality. Love Aikawa of the afro guy with sunglasses. Innocent and cute little girl dressed like an alien, Kuna Mashiro. Long curly yellow hair dressed like a medieval gentleman, Odoribashi Rojiro. These 8 mavericks were all well-known figures in the Soul Society back then, and without exception, they were captain-level powerhouses. It's a pity that because of the Hollow Knight incident that year, they were persecuted by Aizen and used as Hollow's test subjects, so they were forced to defect to the Soul Society. Today, even though they live in seclusion in Karakura town, they rarely come into contact with humans, and stay in this closed warehouse, Kuri, like a group of heterogeneous. Although she has the ability of Shinigami, she is expelled from the Soul Society, and although she has the power of Hollow, she is not empty. In the final analysis, they are just a group of aliens wandering on the edge of the 3 major races. Hiding in Karakura town is just a forced way to survive. No. Not ordinary humans. A drop of cold sweat dripped down Hashigan's chubby cheeks, and he said solemnly, I can feel the fluctuation of Reiatsu from the ceiling barrier. That is to say, this uninvited guest. Most likely Shinigami. Advertisement. What? Everyone's pupils shrank suddenly, and they all exclaimed in unison. For decades, no one except Urahara Kazuki has ever discovered their hiding place, so why would a Shinigami suddenly break in? Is this true? Do you want Lujiro and I to go out and see? Mugaruma Kensai squeezed his fists and said relaxedly, it's good to take this opportunity to exercise. Do not. Hashigan frowned tightly, a hint of shock flashed in the depths of his eyes, and said in a deep voice, it's too late, I didn't expect the ceiling barrier to stop him. He. Has already broken into the gate. After the words fell, Hashigan's eyes shifted to the gate of the warehouse, where a figure really appeared. It was a young man in purple luxurious clothing, with a handsome face and outstanding temperament, and a gentle smile on his young face. This young man is Lu Yun. With the exquisite control over Kido, Lu Yun hardly encountered any obstacles, and easily crossed the multiple seals to enter the warehouse. The moment Lu Yun appeared, everyone's eyes were focused on him, as if he was facing a formidable enemy. Who are you? Hiroko Shinji restrained his sloppy look, and his expression became extremely dignified. Is this question important? Lu Yun responded calmly. Advertisement. Are you Shinigami? Hiroko frowned, very puzzled in his heart. Obviously the opponent can easily break Hashigan's space restriction, but he can't sense any Reiatsu fluctuations from Lu Yun. To be honest, if it is an ordinary human being, it is impossible to do it. It seems that the Soul Society already knows where we are hiding. Could it be that the captain appeared in Karakura town that night? Hiroko Shinji said thoughtfully. Why? Gote 13 only sent you to arrest us. It's too exaggerated. Or, after decades, the group of stupid old guys in room 46 have forgotten our identities back then. When mentioning room 46, Hiroko Shinji was disdainful and even disgusted. It was because of those pedantic old men that they were forced to defect to the Soul Society. Since this bald man dared to break in alone, it means that his strength is not weak. Don't talk so much, let's take him down together. Surugaki Hiyori clasped his arms and said arrogantly, you are not welcome here, Shinigami. Quote. I agree too. Several other people agreed unanimously. Although they have unique personalities, they are united at critical moments. Tisk tisk, sure enough, as the store manager Urahara said, you all have a more irritable temper. Lu Yun grinned, his eyes were burning and he said loudly, it just so happens that I also want to take this opportunity to appreciate the demeanor of the former captain of the Soul Society. Bang! Lu Yun stepped forward, Reiatsu surged out, instantly occupying the entire Orawan. Advertisement. Chapter 218 Let's go together. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. I would like to take this opportunity to have a taste of the former captain of Gote 13. Facing the piercing gazes of the 8 people, Lu Yun didn't panic at all, but showed a strong fighting spirit instead. The 8 present here, in terms of seniority alone, can also be regarded as century captains. Since they were already one of the few strong men in the Soul Society back then, after decades of experience, their strength will become even stronger. It was for this reason that Lu Yun came to visit them specially, just to appreciate their demeanor. In addition, there is the mysterious Hollow. What a big tone, you want to challenge the 8 of us by yourself. Surugaki Hiyori came to Lu Yun, crossed his arms, and yelled angrily. Hey, bald man, I'm afraid you didn't understand the situation. I don't even have the Captain Haori on you. You must be just an ordinary Shinigami, have the courage to challenge us. How ridiculous. It turns out that the deputy captain of the 12th division, Surugaki Hiyori, it seems that you are just like the legend, with pockmarks all over your face. Lu Yun stared at her face and teased. What? Asako. Surugaki Hiyori was stabbed in the sore spot, and immediately became furious, and shouted angrily, damn bald, why do you call me pockmarked? Brush. When she didn't agree with each other, she jumped into the air, which was a flying kick. However, Lu Yun is not willing to be beaten like Hiroko Shinji. When Surugaki Hiyori's figure was still in the air, Kido's chant came from Lu Yun's mouth. Thundering chariot, gap in the spinning wheel, this thing has clusters of light divided into 6. A beam of light suddenly appeared, and then quickly turned into 6 thin light bands, directly trapping Surugaki Hiyori's body before he could touch it. Advertisement. Surugaki Hiyori groaned and struggled desperately, but the more he struggled, the more his body became immobilized. In the end, she was bound so tightly by the 6 paths light bar that she couldn't move at all. Seeing this scene from behind, Hiroko Shinji sighed helplessly. What a headache, I've said so many times not to act rashly, but Hiyori still doesn't listen to the advice. Alas, I have no choice but to do it myself. Hiroko Shinji's eyes were fixed, and his figure disappeared instantly. After Lu Yun saw this scene, a sly smile rose from the corner of his mouth, and he stood calmly on the spot, as if he had guessed Hiroko Shinji's intention. Sure enough, the next second, the figure of Hiroko Shinji appeared behind Lu Yun strangely. His eyes were cold, and he slashed at Lu Yun's back because of Zanpakuto. At this time, Lu Yun still didn't dodge, and the Kido chant came out of his mouth calmly. The proud son of heaven, the Iron City Wall, the dragon's walk, the lion's roar, the tiger's roar, the wolf's run, cut off the world before it collapses. Hado's 81, splitting void. As the chant fell, an almost solid light curtain stood behind Lu Yun. Boom. The sharp blade slashed at the light curtain, but it couldn't do any damage to it. Even, the surface of the light curtain is intact without any cracks. Hiroko Shinji let out a puzzled sigh, feeling very surprised in his heart. At that moment just now, he was almost merciless, but even so, the slash still couldn't shake the light curtain. Advertisement. Could it be that Lu Yun is a Kido master? Hey, This guy is actually a Kido master. Hashigan's eyes flickered, and there was a huge wave in his heart. As the former deputy chief of Kido, he can naturally see how strong Luyun's attainments in Kido are. I was noticed by you, Yuzuki Akita Bagan. The corners of Luyun's mouth turned up, and he didn't hide his Kido ability. He waved his hands, and chants came from his mouth at the same time. Beast bones scattered all over the place, spears, red crystals, steel wheels, movement is like wind, stop is nothingness, and the sound of spears striking each other fills the void city. Hado no 63, fiery lightning howl. O king of landing, mask of flesh and blood, who is full of phenomena, flaps wings, and crowned with the name of man, carves the double lotus on the wall of the blue fire, and waits for the abyss of fire in the distant sky. Hado 73, double lotus Kengwo pendant. Luyun overlapped his hands, violent Reiatsu poured out along the palm, the Reiatsu in his left hand turned into a dazzling thunderstorm, and the Reiatsu in his right hand turned into a fiery explosion. Thunderstorms and pyrotechnics fused with each other, sweeping all directions crazily. Point 0. At this moment, his aura reached its peak. It turned out to be a double Kido. Who the hell is he? At this moment Hashigan couldn't keep his composure anymore. The so-called double Kido is double chant, using two Kido together. Although it sounds not difficult, but to control two completely different forces at the same time, in addition to having a powerful Reiatsu, what is more important is the mastery of Kido. Only when you have reached the point where you can control Kido as you like, can you cast double Kido in an instant. Hirako, get out of the way. Hashigan finally realized the seriousness of the matter and hurriedly shouted. Advertisement. It's a pity that at this time, the pyroburst and the thunderstorm had already fiercely rolled towards Hirako Shinji, completely enveloping him. Boom. Accompanied by a shocking loud noise, the explosion of flames and thunderstorm exploded, and a wave of air swept across the four directions like ripples. Well, the others let out a muffled grunt, and their figures retreated one after another, but Luyun stood calmly. What's wrong with Hirako? The others looked at each other, feeling uneasy. Gradually, the dense fog disappeared, and Hirako's figure reappeared in everyone's field of vision. His image became extremely embarrassing, his neat suit was almost destroyed, and countless bloodstains appeared on his skin. He bent his body, held Zanpakuto with one hand, and fled westward violently. Using Zanpakuto to block Kido's power. It's really a wise move. Being able to make such a judgment in a split second is really worthy of being the former captain of the 5th team. Luyun praised the intestines. TCH, I've been underestimated. Hirako Shinji wiped away the blood from the corner of his mouth, showing a weird smile. At this time, his figure flashed and suddenly appeared beside Surugaki Hiyori. Hirako Shinji held up Zanpakuto and slashed down in the air, and the 6 light prisons suddenly shattered. It's really cunning. But it makes fighting more interesting. Luyun's eyes swept over everyone's face, and he shouted with burning eyes, "You are not my opponent if you fight alone. Masked Legion, let's go together." Advertisement. Chapter 219 Let the ashes be wiped out, the ground wind. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Masked Legion, let's go together. Facing the 8 captain level Shinigami who were famous in the Soul Society in the past, Luyun showed an extremely strong side. Without using Zanpakuto, he suppressed Hirako Shinji only with Kido. Cut. You want to fight 8 against 1. That's why I said I was underestimated. Hirako Shinji laughed instead of anger. When did Gote 13's Shinigami become so arrogant? Yadomaru Lisa nudged the eyes on the bridge of the nose, and said seriously, I still remember that when I was the vice captain, there was no such arrogant Shinigami around me. Odoribashi Rojiro shook his head casually, with long curly hair fluttering behind him. He said gracefully, it seems that we have been gradually forgotten by the world in the past few decades. This feeling is a bit uncomfortable. Mugaruma Kensai took a step forward, his muscles tensed, and he shouted loudly, just let me be his opponent. Kenshi, don't be careless. Also, can you grant me a request? The innocent and cute Kuna Mashiro pouts and asks strangely. 20 inches what request? Quan Shi glanced at her and said with disgust. When you fight against him, don't punch him in the face. With such a handsome face, it would be a pity if your nose is bruised and swollen. Kuna Mashiro stared at Luyun's face and said Nympho. You guy, it's already at this point, do you still have the heart to think about those things? Kensai said helplessly and angrily with his face full of black lines. Advertisement. Bye, although your request is too much. But, after a closer look, he seems to be more handsome than the male lead in the books. Yadomaru Lisa held the glasses with one hand, and looked at Luyun's face carefully. After a long time finally said seriously. Is this really good? Luyun also felt speechless. He was an enemy of unknown origin, but he committed a nympho at a critical moment. These guys in front of me are indeed a group of strange people. On the other side, Mugaruma Kensai couldn't bear it anymore. he waved his hand and shouted angrily. You two, stay on the side, don't hinder me from fighting. Kenshi, don't show mercy, beat him to the ground. Surugaki Hiyori clasped her hands, tilted her head, and yelled arrogantly. What happened to be trapped by Luyun's 6 sticks of light just now made her very angry bosom. If you don't get the place back, this bad breath will be hard to swallow. Okay, let's enjoy this elegant battle quietly. Odoribashi Rojiro leaned gracefully against the corner of the wall, as if waiting to enjoy an elegant musical. By the way, Yu Zhao, quickly set up a space barrier. Once that guy Kensai makes a move, he doesn't care about the consequences. Hiroko Shinji urged. No problem. A huge Reiatsu emerged from Hashigan's palm, and he clasped his hands together. Immediately, a wonderful spatial barrier enveloped Luyun and Muguruma Kensai, isolating them from the interior of the warehouse. In this way, no matter how fierce their battle is, they will not destroy the warehouse. Okay, now it's up to Quan Shi. Hiroko Shinji stared at Muguruma Kensai's back, and murmured in a low voice, Kensai, don't be defeated by that guy. Within the enchantment. Advertisement. Luyun and Muguruma Kensai stared at each other. Faintly, there seemed to be a stream of condensed air constantly reverberating between the two of them. Former captain of Division 9, Muguruma Kensai. Luyun said softly. When I was in Soul Society, I heard many legends about you. Really? What has become of the 9th Division now? Mentioning the former division, Muguruma Kensai asked with a complicated look in his eyes. Team number 9. Everything is going well. Under the leadership of Tusen Kanami, it is thriving. Luyun responded. Tusen Kanami, that guy really became the captain. Muguruma Kensai's eyes flashed a strong killing intent, and he couldn't help recalling that night decades ago. Back then, Tusen Kanami was originally one of his most trusted officers. That night, when the pioneer suddenly disappeared, Muguruma Kensai was ordered to go to the outskirts of Rukongai to investigate the accident. Ever since, Muguruma Kensai rushed to Rukongai with Yu Nanbai, Tojo Haizang, Shima Shinobu, Tengdu Waizamon and Tusen Kanami. But when camping in the middle of the night, an accident happened. Kasaki Heizo, Eshima Shinobu, and Tengdu Waizamon who were guarding around the tent were killed one after another. When Muguruma Kensai rushed out of the tent, he was caught in an ambush by Enma Cricket and was seriously injured in the end. Eventually, he became captain of the first hollow, which indirectly led to the other hollows. To this day, Muguruma Kensai still cannot forget what happened that night. It is his lifelong wish to kill Tusen Kanami with his own hands. It seems. You were persecuted by Tusen Kanami back then. Luyun read everything from Muguruma Kensai's expression. Advertisement. Why, you also fought against that guy? Muguruma Kensai asked back. That's right, not only have I fought against him, I've even experienced the power of Yanmo Cricket 143 Cricket. Luyun responded calmly. Really? Being able to survive Yanmo Cricket, it seems that you were stronger than I imagined. Muguruma Kensai laughed heartily. This is better, at least the battle becomes more interesting. Don't be careless, I'm going to get serious next time. Muguruma Kensai pulled out the Zanpakuto suddenly, and shouted angrily, flash ashes and smoke, wind. As the Shikai language fell, Zanpakuto's blade suddenly blew a gust of wind. And when Muguruma Kensai wields Zanpakuto, the gust of wind turns into a gossamer-like turquoise blade with powerful power as the trajectory spreads. Under the control of Muguruma Kensai, the blue sharp blade cut Luyun like a thin line. The wind blade swiped so fast that it even caused a sonic boom in the air. Boom. The thick and dull voice continued to echo, and there were waves visible to the naked eye in the surrounding space. Facing the fierce offensive, Luyun finally got serious. He also pulled out Zanpakuto, waved in the air, and the sharp blade collided violently with the wind blade. P.S. 5 changes will resume from today. In addition, I will adjust the update time back to the previous one. The recent work and rest time is a bit confusing, sorry. Advertisement. Chapter 220 Bankai, the Iron Fist breaks the wind. Previous chapter. Advertisement. Luyun pulled out Zanpakuto, waved in the air, and the sharp blade collided violently with the wind blade. Boom. The sound of the sonic boom was deafening, and there were waves of waves in the space. A burst of extremely dazzling light erupted from the center where the blade and the wind blade collided, and the energy storm swept the surroundings like a tide, and even the surrounding space barriers were greatly affected. Click click click. Accompanied by a crisp cracking sound, countless small cracks appeared on the surface of the space barrier. The space barrier is going to be broken. Hashigan's pupils shrank suddenly, and a majestic Reiatsu emerged from his palm, and he quickly formed a seal again. As a result, a more solid space enchantment covered the periphery, barely blocking the impact of the energy storm. Call. After doing all this, Hashigan breathed a sigh of relief, reached out to wipe the cold sweat on his forehead, and arranged space barriers one after another. Even as a Kido master, he couldn't stand it. Hirako, relying on Shikai's strength alone, Kensai seems to be no match for that guy. Surugaki Hiyori clasped his hands together. The arrogance on his face gradually disappeared, replaced by a dignified look that he had never seen before. Although the storm formed by the explosion of the wind blade covered Luyun and Muguruma Kensai, Surugaki Hiyori could clearly feel that Luyun's aura was still rising, while Muguruma Kensai's aura was rapidly declining. Obviously, Muguruma Kensai is clearly at a disadvantage. Advertisement. You can suppress Kensai's Zanpakuto, breakdown wind, with just ordinary slashes. It seems that Guy's Zanpakuto is extraordinary. Love Akawa, the uncle with afro, said in a deep voice. In an instant, all eyes focused on Zanpakuto open black lens bracket invincible close black lens bracket, and they were very curious in their hearts, does this seemingly ordinary Zanpakuto really have such terrifying power? Don't be nervous, Kensai is not that weak. In the face of the former captain of Gotei 13, he still doesn't plan to Shikai. According to me, that guy is very likely to be bluffing. Hirako Shinji's face was filled with a strange look smiling. Kensai didn't seem worried that Muguruma would be defeated. After all, Muguruma Kensai was recognized by the captain of Yamamoto 100 years ago and served as the captain of the 9th Division. He not only awakened Bankai, but also mastered the power of Hollow. It is too early to tell the outcome before all the strength has been fully exerted. That's right, I also think there's something to worry about, Kenshi isn't that weak. But Yadomaru Lisa stared at Luyun intently, and said curiously, this guy is really terrifyingly strong. Not only does he have amazing strength on Kido, but he is also so powerful in slashing. Is he really just an ordinary Shinigami? After witnessing Luyun's strength with her own eyes, Yadomaru Lisa subconsciously regarded him as a captain level Shinigami of the same level. Let me just say, no matter how stupid and incompetent those old guys in room 46 are, they wouldn't be stupid enough to send an ordinary Shinigami to arrest us. Hirako Shinji smiled evilly. Speaking of which, I really want to fight against him. On the other side, within the space barrier. When the dense fog cleared, Muguruma Kensai's figure was exposed again. Shockingly, his image has become extremely embarrassing. The gray tights on the shoulders have been broken, revealing dark and fit muscles. There were several bloodstains on his arm, and scarlet blood kept oozing from the wound. Advertisement. Muguruma Kensai's hair was disheveled, and her breathing fluctuated violently. In the collision just now, even though he had detonated the wind blade of the groundbreaking wind in advance, he still couldn't stop Luyun's slash. The seemingly majestic energy collision is just an illusion formed by the bursting of the wind blade in the broken area. The actual situation is like the light of fireflies can never compete with the bright moon. The power of the two is not on the same level at all. Muguruma Kensai clenched his fists, retreated instinctively, and distanced himself from Luyun. Whenever he recalled the slash just now, he felt instinctively afraid in his heart. Muguruma Kensai, I seem to feel a little fear in your eyes. Luyun and Muguruma Kensai looked at each other, and said calmly, compared to other Zanpakuto I have met, your boundary wind Shikai is indeed very powerful, it is a pity that you met me. No matter how dazzling the light of a Zanpakuto is, it can only be eclipsed in front of Zanpakuto open black lens bracket invincible close black lens bracket. Because the word invincible represents everything. Who the hell are you? Muguruma Kensai didn't act hastily, but asked calmly. Is my identity important? Luyun smiled and still didn't respond. Don't you want to say it? Well, at least at the moment when we fought just now, I have already experienced your strength. Advertisement. Muguruma Kensai said dignifiedly. I was hurt by just an ordinary slash. Your strength is indeed comparable to that of a captain-level Shinigami. Then I will be the one to use only Shikai's power to deal with you. What, are you planning to use Bankai? Luyun asked provocatively with his mouth slightly upturned. That's right. To deal with a strong man like you, the only way is to use Bankai's power. In this way, I can also enjoy the thrill of fighting that I haven't seen for a long time. Muguruma Kensai frowned and waved his arms. The momentum rose rapidly. Great. Bang. A violent wind appeared around his body, and his short silver hair fluttered in the wind. A powerful breath swept across the four directions. Outside the enchantment, after feeling the powerful aura emanating from Muguruma Kensai, everyone's expressions changed, and they all exclaimed in unison, how is it possible that Kensai intends to Bankai? Forcing Kensai to use Bankai just because of his momentum, is that guy really that strong? Hirako Shinji's eyes flickered, and he murmured in a low voice. Being able to force Kensai to this extent, it seems, we have ushered in a terrible opponent. On the other side, Muguruma Kensai climbed rapidly and reached the top in no time. His face was solemn, the muscles all over his body were tense, and a burst of extremely dazzling light burst out from the surface of Zanpakuto. Bankai. Iron Fist breaks the wind. Advertisement.